Her dream is that each and every person will stop letting others define what happiness should look like and what success should be, and empower them to define it for themselves. Kalee believes that when you find the balance between taking time out of your personal or out of yourself and making time to help others, you're living the best true you life. So Kalee lives with her soulmate and husband Eric and 3 beautiful children, Kaylin, Seth, and Alicia. Sorry, and they live in South Lake. So yay, we're super excited.
Yeah.
So Kalee.
My mom, because I can kind of chat and talk, and then you guys will be like, really, Kalee, it's fun. So first of all, I do have to ask, who's friends with Mary on Facebook?
The world is friends with Mary.
I know.
Mel has like 1,000 friends.
Like, I have to thank Mary so much because even though I was the speaker, I was excited to hear about the speaker because she was just talking about she's great. Yeah, exactly. So I hope I can live up to that. So first of all, thank you, Siobhan, for even being the founder of this wonderful organization. It's just amazing. And so when I met Mary at an event, and we just clicked like from across the room, I think you did the same thing. Like she was constipated, but you know, it's like we were dating or something. I was like, I said to her over here, I was like, I'm going to talk to you because we're like-minded, and I feel like you, when you get to a certain point that you are living that authentic life, or you're really focused on trying to live it, those people just find you, and it's pretty amazing. So you have to be open to it. So I would just ask that you stay open to it. You do have some journals. It's going to be interactive. I'm kind of that way. I don't really like to come here and just talk to you. I like it to be relational. So I encourage you to take notes in your journal. And you may take that journal and you may put it in your purse, you may put it in a drawer when you get home, but my hope is sometime you'll pick that back up, you'll find it when you move or, you know, tomorrow.
I got the one by the way, so this is my second one.
Oh,
With me on the
good, yeah. I'm a big believer in writing things down. But the things we're going to talk about today, I want you to be recalled to those, okay? Because sometimes the busyness of life, we have really good intentions and we say, yes, that's great. We hear these speakers and we say, that's what I'm going to do. And then we go with kids and work and whatever. So this is your little, what was I going to do? Martha, what were you going to do for yourself today? So anyway, I encourage you to use that. Yes, I'm Kalee. My journey kind of started, I feel like I was kind of reborn in 2009, and we'll get to that in a minute. But before that, I just want to kind of tell you my story. If you'll allow that, I'm honored that you're giving me the time to tell that. So I am a child from California. Got to Texas as soon as I could, I know. But I am a child of divorce. My mom is here. So as a little girl, I kind of always had that princess dream, you know, you go around the room and what do you want to be? I want to be a teacher, I want to be a chef, I want to be a whatever. And I just wanted to be a mom, like, that could stay home with their kids, you know. And Mom being here, she worked really hard, and it's nothing against my mom, but I just had that need in there, you know, not being with a single mom. That was success to me, you know. So going through life, that's what I wanted to be. I got to be that. Got married at age 20, young. Had lived in West Germany for some time. My mom got remarried to a wonderful man who is my dad now. Lived over there, moved to Texas in '87 as a junior in high school, met my husband young, but got married. Went to college, left my senior year because I just was going to be a mom. You know, all those things you go, I look back and go, I should have done that. But, so I had it. I had the success. I thought, you know what, here I am, I've got this husband, I'm a stay-at-home mom, I was lucky to be able to do that, I had 2 great kids, became very involved in my community, like, you know, we all do, very much involved in leadership, because I kind of joined the Circle of 5, what I call the Circle of 5, and it's not really a real organization, but any of you who are involved in things, there's 5 people that do everything, you know that? Yes, Circle of 5, and somehow we just place ourselves in that because we feel like, well, it won't happen if I'm not there, right? So of course I'll say yes and I'll take charge. Well, as you kind of start doing this more and more into different groups, into your friends, we all play many roles. Well, then for me, I started finding I can only define myself by those roles. So when people met me, it was like, hi, I'm Kalee, I'm Lynn's wife, I'm Kaylin and Seth's mom, I'm Junior League Fort Worth, I'm PTA president, I'm whatever, you know. But what does that really say about me? Oh, she's busy. right? I mean, you meet those people, you're like, but who is she? What does that mean? And I didn't know. And I think we lie to ourselves a lot, and we're like, we're really important because I've got all this stuff, and you know, people look maybe on the outside, they're like, she's got the American dream. You know, I stayed at home, and she's in charge of all these things. She always seems organized and put together. But the thing is, inside, and I was lying to myself. I was dying, literally dying inside. But I wouldn't show that because do we do that? Are we honest with people? Am I really going to go, Marjo, this is a really crappy day. Sorry. You know, I try not to cuss, but I'm going to tell you it's who I am. So anyway, please don't be offended. But seriously, like, how often do we really show who we really are? We don't. We put on this facade, whether it's with our family, whether it's with our friends, our employer, our employees, because that's just what society says is acceptable. So I started trying to film myself as I was kind of going through and thinking, gosh, I'm really not that great. So, gosh, all these people play tennis. I'm going to come over here and play tennis because that's going to make me happy. You know, I hated tennis. I'm not. But you know what? I was trying to fit into that role. You know, somebody else's role, somebody else's definition of happiness. Well, that wasn't working. So what I started doing to myself is I started saying, you know, it's okay to have a glass of wine every night. And then, you know what, it's okay to have a glass of wine before the kids come home from school. You know, I started filling it with stuff because I couldn't get enough because I was just empty. I think, what is your name there? Kate? Yes, Kathy. Kathy, I'm sorry, Kathy. You know, you say it best, and we hear it all the time, as if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. Anytime you travel, you hear that on the plane, you know, put your mask on first before you put on. But we don't do that. We tend to give it all out first, and we don't even realize we're depleted. You know, we're irritable, we're kind of maybe, you know, a lot of people are on antidepressants. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I started looking around and thinking, my circle of friends, why are we all kind of on this medication, and why are we, every time we go have a girls' night, it's like we're bashing our husbands and our kids, you know? And you have those moments, but in my life, that's kind of became my norm. Embarrassed to kind of say to my friends at that time who would come to me for marriage advice because I had been married for, you know, 15 years at that time, and you look like you have the perfect marriage because that's what I portrayed. You know, I wanted everybody to know. How could I tell them that I didn't have it all together? You know, and that's a really scary feeling. Plus, I think the number one thing that gets to us is guilt. I think no one guilts us better, no one is harder on ourselves than us. So as I'm kind of looking and I'm thinking, Kalee, how selfish of you. How could you not be happy? You live in a nice home. You've got 2 healthy kids. I've worked with groups that had unhealthy kids, families, or whatever. You really aren't wanting for a whole lot materialistic-wise because that's success, right? That's what society says success is, even though we know it's not. But we all buy into that, okay? And you may be the one person that's not, but I kind of do a general because most people do. You know, we all tell that to ourselves. So I lived for a long time with that guilt, which then fed that probably drinking too much. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys, you know, alcoholism runs in our family. I easily was on that track. For me, it was a wake-up call for me in 2008 in the fall. And at this time, I was kind of, you know, on autopilot, Groundhog Day every day. I called it comfortably complacent, you know? Wasn't bad, it wasn't good, but you know what? It was just there. And I had gone through all the angry and sad and all of that to just void. And I think that's even a scarier place to be than to be angry or depressed or sad, because then you just don't care. So I dropped my kids. At the time I lived in Keller, and you guys kind of know the Metroplex. I dropped them off at school, and then I ended up in Frisco at Stonebriar Mall, pulling up there and not even remembering how I got there. And that's you know, probably, what, 40 miles from where my house is? You know, literally pulled up, and I kind of looked at that Cheesecake Factory, and I thought, how am I here? You know? That's a really scary place to be. So then I started asking those questions. How come I can't take time for myself? Why is it that I feel like I can't do that. You know why? Because I'm worried about what you're thinking about me. I'm worried about, what my husband's going to think of me, or my children, or ABCD, whoever. We worry about what others think to the detriment of ourselves. For me, I wanted more out of life. I just didn't think that would be okay. I didn't want to be 80 years old and think, well, that was good, But as I started having thoughts, I started having real thoughts that were really scary. Do I want to be in this marriage anymore? But that was my dream. I just wanted to be the wife, and here I am. So, Kalee, suck it up. Here you are. Do I want to stay at home? I think Kalee has some pretty good things that I can contribute to the world that don't have anything to do with anybody else but me. But how do you find that? For me, I needed to take a sabbatical. And that's kind of a scary thing too. I go to my husband and my friends, who I think wanted to commit me at that time, they're like, what's she doing? She's kind of freaking out. But for me, I needed to get away. I just my mind was too cluttered, my soul was too cluttered, and I was just either going to become an alcoholic or run out of the house screaming away from everybody that I knew, and I knew those weren't either good options. So for me, I took a 2-week sabbatical to Berlin, Germany. Berlin was a place, living in West Germany as a child, it was still East and West Germany in the 80s. Berlin was a place you just didn't go as an American military family. For some reason, as a 15-year-old girl, I had tucked Berlin somewhere down in the heart, thinking that was just the place to be. As we lived in Europe, we traveled around, a lot. I found out I loved that. I hadn't traveled up once we moved here and I got married and stuff, really anywhere. I mean, we'd go to North Carolina or Arkansas or, I went to some places, but my spirit, I feel like I'm kind of this vagabond, that needs to live everywhere and just soak people in. And I had lost that because my husband didn't like to do that. So I had kind of morphed into, instead of compromise. Now I do want to say, I'm not saying it's all about you. There is compromise here. But if you don't know who you are, you don't even know what to compromise or what to help with. So I say, I'm going to go, I need a place. I need a place where I don't have anybody else telling me what to do or the influence. And, my husband at the time, he was like, well, I'll get you a hotel room in Dallas, and it'll be fine. But no, that's not really what I'm saying. I am saying I am losing my mind, and I have to strip myself of all the definition that I've given myself. And again, I was an active part. This wasn't stuff that was just like, here, Kalee, this is you, and I'm like, really? I mean, I was willing to take on all of those roles, but not realizing, again, that Kalee was gone in that. So when I was thinking, I thought, I'm stripping myself back to, when was the last time I could think I was Kalee? And that was about that 15-year-old girl before. But you know what? It was for me, and it was the first time that I took that time, and I took money out of savings to do that because I invested in me. And it was life transforming. And I call it transforming because I feel like when things are life changing, you can change back. For me, I was a whole new layer, But I also had to listen to myself and ask myself the really tough questions that a lot of us just have. I think sometimes when we're having those thoughts and those feelings of, gosh, I'm just not sure I'm so happy, we tell ourselves, we tell those lies, we're like, no, we're okay. We're like those turtles. I feel like we all have these turtle shells of life and all the definitions, and we kind of stick our head out and we're like, I'm not so sure, but it's too scary. Because when you change a job, when you change anything in your life, it's usually not easy. It usually doesn't come just, seamlessly. It's scary. You're vulnerable. And you have to tell people, you know what, I'm really not perfect. I mean, I kind of am, but not really. But, so we have to take that shell off, and we have to be able to go and kind of, navigate through those cards that are coming at us, those different things that are coming at us to get to the other side, put a new shell on and go, hey, I did it. And I will tell you, if you've never done that, I do challenge you, whatever it is in your life that you're struggling with or would like to see. I'm so excited when I hear people say they're starting new businesses or whatever, because anything is possible. And when you get that new shell, there's no going back, right? I mean, those of us who've done it, it's like, woo, that shell should have been gone a long time ago, And now I'm going to that shell because we are just a work in progress. And that's, I think until we're gone from this earth, you have to be changing and transforming. You can't stay where you are. That's not what we're called to do. Not that I'm saying you have to go to Berlin. That's not what I'm saying. You could, if you need that, you go tell your husband, yeah, I saw the speaker. She said, I have to go to Europe. So anyway, 2 weeks of that. And so I started saying, this marriage is not for me. And you know what? I'm going to have to be the one to make that decision. And I know a lot of you have been through some tough divorces, that's just part of life, unfortunately, and where we are now. I made that decision. So I had to be able to look at my 2 babies and say, I chose this, because I was going to die and I was not being a good mom anymore. I mean, I had pulled away at that point from being very involved in the community and having lots of friends. I had then pulled so far back because I didn't know how to handle it. So, you can't do either one of those, which is where TrueUGlobal we'll talk about in a minute, the balance of that. I feel like if you're out here and you're always giving, it's awesome, but it's not the benefit of you. If you are over here and you're just like, it's all about me and I'm doing this and whatever, that's not what we're called to do because we are called to give back. So living that balance is key for me. So I did come home. I did get divorced. Keep in mind, I did not graduate from college. I left my senior year. I had 2 kids at this time. I had been out of the workforce for 13 years. And I'm like, that's a better option than where I am, I mean, talk about jumping off a cliff. And you know what? I was never as happy as I was at that moment. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I could work 3 jobs, live in an apartment. It didn't matter because you know what? For the first time in a long time, I was Kalee. And I was on the offense team now. Instead of like lives happening to me, I was like, you know what, I'm putting on my pads and I'm going. I've got this new shell and I'm going and I don't know where I'm going, but it's going to be good. And it's been great. Doesn't mean it's been perfect. So anyone who's saying they have a perfect life even now, it's not true. So don't ever measure yourself with that person. So I got a job with an insurance agent. I was very lucky. I didn't have to work 3 jobs and whatever, but I got a job with an insurance agent. But that circle of 5, remember that I told you about? My personality is, well, I'm not just going to market for an insurance agent. I'm going to be an insurance agent. And that's my new shell. So I got fully licensed P&C Health and Life, got into the insurance world. Nothing against insurance. I hated insurance. And I'm thinking, this can't be it. This can't be what I did. And now I went through all that work, But it was, again, just growing. I started working. We were members of a chamber of commerce. I loved the people part of it. I loved helping them. I loved trying to inspire them to make changes in their work, to do whatever I could to help them grow. I started working for the chamber. The president at the time knew I wasn't happy. She's like, hey, come work for me. I'm like, all right. I don't know what that means, but you know what? I was at a point in my life where no more was I going to say, here's all the reasons why I can't. All right. And I'm stepping into it. We'll see what it leads to. During this time, I'm not following any of my notes at all. During this time, and I do have to tell you, also, when it's really scary, you're going to lose some people in this transition. Anytime you start asking different questions than where you are at currently, people aren't going to really like it because one, most of the time it's uncomfortable for them. Either they're asking the same questions that they're not willing to talk about, or it's just they're on a different road. And you know what? I have had to learn, because I'm kind of like, I want you on my road. It's just my personality, Like, I'm on this road, you guys come too. But you have to understand, this road that you're on, and they're on over here, it doesn't mean it's less happy, it's less fulfilled. That's their road. That's their true you. So I'm on my true you, and some friends didn't want to come along. And that's difficult, because initially I thought it was me, and then I had to realize that's on them, Not in a bad way, but that's just the way it is. So as I'm kind of working with the chamber and doing this, I started having a feeling of need to give back as I'm looking around at all the other people that I felt were on autopilot. And some of those friends that had kind of backed away in 2009 started coming back and saying, Kalee, you seem so happy. Like, what is it? I don't know, I guess I thought I should be in a corner somewhere, because it was difficult being a single mom. But some of those same moms, and a lot of them were women. Initially, I thought TrueUGlobal would be a woman's group because that's my story, right? That's where I come from. But it's a human condition. The more I get out and talked about it, what is it? You seem so peaceful. You seem so happy. What, And that's what I would just tell them. Well, it's not perfect, but it is Kalee's life. And so now I'm a great mom. You need those confirmations along the way, and my daughter was 12 at the time, and I'll never forget driving to the Galleria, taking them ice skating, and she just looked at me, I'm 635, and she said, Mom, you're so happy now. And you're like, thank you, Lord, because you think you're doing all these things, to the detriment of them, because did I want them to be children of divorce? Absolutely not. That's not what we go to get married to and have kids. But you know what? Now that's part of their story, and they're okay. So as I'm kind of going through this, and I started having this really deep seed of needing to give back and needing to help people find that it is possible, whatever it is. It's not going to be the same road, but I do feel like anything is possible. Believe me, if I'm here standing and talking in front of you, anything is possible. And so I really felt this urge, and I thought, okay, maybe in 10 years, 15 years, I don't know what that looks like, but I will do something for that. In the midst of this, I meet my now husband, Eric, and he had adopted what's now my youngest daughter from Kazakhstan. And he always kind of had this need to give back to children, to advocate on children's behalf, orphanages, and that was kind of the basis of our relationship, is that we're called to give back, but we don't know what this looks like. Working for the chamber, it was a nonprofit. I had to learn how to put on events, golf tournaments. I'm sure you've had your share. And now you kind of look back and we see life in hindsight, right? Because now I can look and say, it was all for a purpose. Mm-hmm. But what I want to do is I want to live in that purpose now. And I want to be open to, I don't want to look back a year from now and say, that's why. I try to really stay every single day and meet all of you and look you in the eye and talk and say, what does this mean for this person? This person may, meant to be married, meeting her at the Forward Chamber, meant to be, leads me to here, leads me to Siobhan, leads me to these relationships I would have never had. And I think sometimes we're not open to that. We're not open to, I really feel like I'm sisters with Kate here. We're like, that's weird, Kalee, don't do that. I encourage you, be open. Life is short. If you connect with someone and you feel you want to just share, now don't be one of those people that shared your whole life the first time, no one will want to be around you. But you know what I mean? Go meet with that person. Don't, get rid of all the boundaries that we put for ourselves, the lies we tell ourselves, like, well, she's not going to want to, why I shouldn't, all of those things. I encourage you to take that out. So here I am in 2013. With this organization standing in front of you, and it really was a dream in 2011, November of 2011, in the middle of the night. I woke up, and again, I'm thinking there's this balance. I don't have this balance. I still really would love to get involved with all these nonprofits, but I know my circle of five mentality, and then I'll be in charge of all those, November 2011, it was a dream called One Life. And that I woke up, and I didn't bring my mom napkin. I meant to bring that to you guys, but I woke up in the middle of the night and just started writing it down. And I feel like it was, divinely inspired. That we have one life, and you've got to make it count, Kalee. Where is it that you can, help these people find that balance? So as I was kind of doing this, and I will tell you, you're married to the right guy this time around. When he was in Vienna at the time. So it was middle of the night, me, afternoon his time, and I called him crying. I'm like, guess what, Eric? It's called One Life, and I've got it. No, and he wasn't like, did you drink too much? Or go back to bed? What are you doing? He said, you know what? Absolutely. Of course you can do that, and that's exactly what it is. And when I get back, we'll start working on the business plan. I was like, okay, good night. So thinking, okay, these women, I need to help women, because I think more than anything, we put more roles on ourselves than men do. Not bashing men, I love men, but for some reason we get stuck into that we have to do it all. Sometimes men can just go to work, maybe be the Cub Scout dad, and maybe one other thing. But gosh, we're like, really? Okay, I'll give you my foot because I don't have any more arms or fingers to get to you. So I was thinking, well, this could be a women's group. And so I started looking around thinking, okay, it can be like a once a month, like a social thing, and I'll look for these different organizations, but I couldn't find what I was looking for. Where is it that you could do both of those things? There's lots of personal stuff that you can do, personal retreats, go to Berlin, you can do all sorts of stuff, but where is it that that combines both? And I feel like that's what we're called to do. Empower ourselves and then build others up. So TrueUGlobal the idea was November of 2011, and we officially launched December 3rd of 2012. We are a membership organization, and I'm not going to get into the details of our organization. If you're interested, you can come talk to me about that, but I want to give you some takeaways that have helped me get to where I am now. So in 8 months, we have 83 members, yes, 83 members. We've had a golf tournament. We're having a fundraiser next week. We've had great events, and what we do is that's what we alternate. So once a month, we're doing personal development. We've done anything from 5Ks to, and there's the calendar, Siobhan. Yeah, Siobhan's put the insert in there, to archery, to the following months. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, but I do activities to lift up and support other nonprofits. So it's just that balance of, you know what, do something for you, let's go have fun, and it's all about me. To next month, you know what, we're going to go to Ron McDonald's house and we're going to totally do, top to toe cleaning, which is what we did. So that's TrueUGlobal, and again, I'll talk to you about that. But I started a nonprofit. Someone who didn't graduate from college, didn't really have that experience, but you know what I have? I have the passion and I have the commitment to it. And you know what? That is really what anything you want to do in your life, you have the passion for it and the commitment for it, girl, go for it. You have it. All the things you say, well, I can't. And we like to do that, right? Because we want to take the responsibility off. We want to say, well, here's the reason why I can't. All right, moving on. I don't really have to put the work into it. Put the work into it. If you believe in it and you love it, you're going to have a life you love. So I do want to encourage that. So as we do that, this is the time you get to write down your notes. And I put my little thing, how am I doing on time? Okay. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to write a big letter T. And that's going to stand for take the time. And these are my little nuggets for getting to your true you, okay? Obviously, my true you is not artistic, so I come to you. This is what you get, okay? So T is take the time. First and foremost, it's not selfish to take the time. I don't understand this philosophy now of why taking the time for ourselves is a luxury and not a necessity. I want you to write down, taking the time for me is a necessity. It is not a luxury. Now, I realize there's appropriate times for it. It's not that, anytime you really want to just take that time, you just tell your boss, you know what, I'm taking the time for me. I'm leaving. She told me I could. Obviously, you build that and you structure the time around what you really want to do for you. It's necessary. It's not a luxury. Let go of all your shoulds. Anybody carry those around? Anybody? Well, I should do this. I should look like this. I should. I'm telling you, don't even say should, okay? Should's another S word to me. I encourage you to find your own Berlin. I feel like everyone has their own Berlin, in quotes. And what I found about me is I had never really spent time by myself. I used to look at those people that go to restaurants with themselves and think how sad, like they're by themselves. Now, I love it and I require it. I found that about myself. I require it. So I plan on, and I did this year as well, spent a couple days for myself in a different place. I really challenge you to find your Berlin. And what that means is just any place, okay? It can be your own backyard, probably not, because it needs to be any place you can listen to yourself without any other distraction or people around you. So if you're even in your own backyard, you may have kids, you may have the sounds of your neighbor, which brings you back to your own house. Find your place that strips you of everything you know except for you, okay? Find your Berlin. Next, isn't this fancy? R, big R, write a big R. Reintroduce yourself to you. Hello, self, where have you been? I mean, I actually said that out loud to myself. Oh, seriously, 30 minutes? See, I can talk.
You're good.
Almost
Keep
done.
it. Yeah.
I actually said that out loud to myself, and I know that's a little bit strange maybe. I know, Mary, you said the same thing, like, oh, she looks fun, and I'm doing it. I talk to myself frequently because sometimes I need that outside listening to my head because I do start still trying to tell myself all the shoulds. I'm like, Kalee, no, you know? So in 2009, when I was actually in Berlin, I had that. I was like, self, where have you been? It's so nice to see you. And I had that conversation with myself. It's not strange. If you haven't had a conversation with yourself lately, do it. But when you're asking yourself, where have you been, and you're reintroducing yourself, what does that mean? So usually when we meet someone, we say, and we're in a networking group, and I understand that, you're going to say, so what do you do? But I challenge you, when you meet people, Siobhan, who are you? Who are you? Not what you do. Because you know what? What you do is because of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that who you are is not what you do. And you need to kind of find that out. We are all skilled women. We're all professional women. But just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should be doing that. That does not mean that's going to fill your authentic self. Okay? We're good at it. And challenge a woman and she will do it. But just because you're good at it doesn't mean maybe that's what you should be doing. Okay? What did you like as a kid? Did you like art? Did you want to be a bull rider? Whatever you wanted to be. Seriously, ask yourself those questions and we kind of giggle and laugh at that. But that's who we are. That was before we became moms and workers and all of that. The core of us has not changed, believe it or not. And those of you who have children that you know and you can raise kids the same way and they're completely different beings, we are who we are. We're just nurtured. Reintroduce yourself to you. What are some of your favorite activities that you like to do? The next two go together, and you can write it down one, taking it up. Understand what empowers you. So you're going to have a capital U for understand what, and E is for empowers you. I want to tell you the definition of empowerment. I think that's a word that's kind of thrown out there now. It's kind of a buzzword, but I truly believe in it. Empowerment is to invest with power, especially legal power or official authority, to equip or supply with an ability. So if you think of empowerment as authority, official authority, who has more official authority over you than you, right? When you're empowered by something, you're you. You have that power over you to do something that's actually a part of you. So empowering, I don't mean, understand what you like to do. I mean, yeah, we all like to go have coffee or whatever, but that's not like transforming. That's not. What is it that actually empowers you? What is it that gets you up in the morning and wants you to help other people, wants you to help yourself? What is that? Understand that. Don't just kind of go, yeah, I think that's what I'd like to do. But really delve into that. Ask yourself those hard questions. And then the last one is, sorry, you guys over there, TrueU table, you're not going to be able to see this, but you should know this. Unconditionally. And what does that mean? There's no boundaries. There's no limits on that. I don't like art because Kathy says I should like art. I like art because it empowers me. It moves me. It makes a difference in my life. Okay? So it's okay. We have to live in a world of boundaries, right? I'm not saying it's a free-for-all and now we're all true you. We're out there just doing whatever we want. But you know what? You have full permission to be your true you. And when you become and you understand what really empowers you without any excuses, it's life transforming. And those right people come into your life. So I would just ask that you kind of look at this, journal at some time, and you've made your notes, and you start filling in maybe some of the questions. Or maybe you start asking the questions. You don't even know the questions to ask. I highly encourage you to do that to find your true you. It's life transforming. It's crazy. Be prepared again to freak some people out, to lose some people, even your own kids or your own husband. That's okay. And I do want to say, I don't advocate divorce. I'm not saying, find your true, go to Europe and get divorced. It's not what I'm saying. That's my journey. That's where I have had to come from to be able to be where I am now. And to be the Kalee that I was probably called to always be, thanks to a great mom. But what I am saying is sometimes those tough things happen, and we all know, it's kind of in hindsight again, but try to be in the moment of those tough things and understand, is this really to the benefit of me, or am I just creating it? So I think we can also create a lot of that strife too, but usually when we're ignoring those feelings. I do want you to understand that each of these steps take action. This isn't just on paper. This isn't philosophy. This is, 4 years of my life of every single day acting on this, okay? So don't just write it down and be like, oh, that's great, true you. Live it. I'm all about action. I do want to end a little bit with a quote. I think one of the wisest men around has been Dr. Seuss. Maybe that says something about me. I don't know. No judgment. There's no judgment in Plaid, right? But I do want to end this quote because I love it, and I say it all the time. But today you are you. This is truer than true. There was no one alive that is more you than you. So understand that that's true. With someone and you're in, lining, but you know what? There's only one you. So you may have heard a version of what I've talked about, being your authentic self, doing that, but you know what? I'm the only one that can tell you my version of it and my story. And you're going to gain little nuggets, hopefully you gain something today, but from everyone who's been on that same journey. But now it's time for you to create your own true you. So I'm honored, thankful for your time. Thank you for spending the morning with me. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know, because that's truly what I'm here for. I would love to have you guys come to a TrueUGlobal event. Again, if you want more information on that, come find me. Yay!
Thank you, Kalee. Kalee, did you touch on your event on the table?
Yes, thank you. Back to the wine. We like wine.
Yes.
But we're actually in Keller. We're having a wine fundraiser this Wednesday night, the 28th. We're going to have a guitar player, live music.
Thursday the 28th.
No, Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday's
Oh,
28th.
Wednesday.
I'm like, no, it's Wednesday. True Fire in South Lake is providing all the food. We're going to have a silent auction. It's at Elwine Chateau in Keller. So come join us 7 to 9. So it's not like going to take your whole night.
Is that on the square in Keller?
It's in downtown off Main Street.
Okay.
Right there. Come meet some fun people. The thing about TrueUGlobal and what I love about Plaid, and Siobhan says it, there's no drama. This is a community of people. TrueUGlobal is a community of people that are here to say, yes, you can. Of course you can do that. We're here to support you. And that's what I love so much about Plaid and TrueU. But, so yeah, come meet us 7 to 9. Love, to come meet other people and drink some great wine and yummy food. So thank you. Yes.
Oh, no, we were just...
Oh.
She was like, I was like, no, it's still on your way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's one ticket for $25 or 2 for $40.
Now, this isn't just a women's thing on this night, is it? Or...
No. Well, and I touched on that. TrueUGlobal is not a women's organization. That was my story, but as I was meeting people, I'm like, this is a human need. And so we have our members, our youngest is 27, our oldest is 60. How old are you, Mom? I know, but wide range. We've got couples, we have singles. You don't have to have been at the bottom of life to be a member. This is a place that you're like, we're fun. We're fun. So, yeah.
Oh, here you go. Thank you.
Oh, yay.
And the receipts are there in case, because I know you collect Starbucks coffee mugs. And so I was trying to find one. Janelle and I were unsuccessful, so there's one in there and the receipts. So you can take it.
She's taking my husband and I do. And my husband and I travel quite a bit. He's European and we travel much our thing. Like, our true you. There we go. Time to go. But we do, and Janelle, she's like, you have a lot of those, don't you collect this? I'm like, yeah, that's kind of our thing. So awesome, thank you. Is it Plaid? You need to get some Plaid started.
I know.
Yeah,
Just
big
big
ones, the whole Plaid coffee.
Yeah, like where you just have to go keep refilling it.
I know, exactly.
I'm so behind that.
Yeah.
I saw Janelle at Starbucks this morning.
I was like,
Hey, does anyone have any questions?
is outstanding, Kalee. One thing I read a quote too recently that said, "Comparison is the robber of joy." I think so many times women, we compare ourselves to other women. I think because this is so much synergy with her company and ours, is that whatever you define as success for you, we will support you.
Absolutely.
Instead of what this media thing is that you have to be so tall and look a certain way, that's just BS. And whatever your success is, we will support you.
Yes.
That's what the whole.
Amen.
Yeah.
And everyone's success is different.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, and on that note too, one of the biggest struggles we have is comparing our success at our beginning to someone's success at their end. And their story, I mean, they have made the struggles that they've gone through to be where they are, and
Yes.
as successful as they are, could be right where you are today. And
Yeah.
so that's the other thing too. And I think we do that all the time.
Well, I tell people that often because I do meet with a lot of people, and I think it just lends itself to they may not be in a really great spot, and they're like, Kalee, I could never be you, and I'm like, girl, you're seeing me 5 years later.
Exactly.
I mean, if you were to meet me, which I was in a lot of networking things back then, completely different person, you know. I had lost who I was. So don't get discouraged by that. Don't be like, well, I can never, she's like there, because you don't know the journey they've already been on.
And I was holding on to every word that Kalee said. I know everything was valued to me that came out of her mouth. But something that just, it really, it stuck with me is that when she said that don't just react to life, like it's being thrown at you and you feel like you're just reacting to everything that happens. I mean, it's not like that. Let that happen and live your life offensively, and you make the decisions on what you're doing, and that way you know you're doing what you want. That was awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Kalee,
You should write a book.
I'd like to say thank you. What you did is amazing, because what I call it is the risk hoop, like a hula hoop that goes around you. You jumped that risk hoop and you shared very deep personal stuff with us that I know made a difference with everybody.
Yeah.
So, wonderful.
Gosh, you give me goosebumps. Thank you.